Wanting to keep my podcast sponsorships and advertisements free, I stayed away from such options. Instead, earlier this year, an alternative appeared. With my fiancée, we have joined a rapidly growing marketing network for a company which develops technologies and healthcare products based on traditional Chinese medicine. Instead of advertising products and services, I've decided to extend this opportunity to you. While this opportunity may not be for everyone and might still be unavailable in your country, I have no doubt that in time it could be, and therefore here we are. If you are looking for a side hustle, an alternative way of earning, and a space to grow as your own boss and manager, this program could be for you. Commission-based and fully remote, I believe it to be an opportunity for those who feel like a 9-to-5 model takes away too much of their life and isn't exactly worth their time. If you'd like to learn more, follow the link below. If your country is on the list, you're in. I look forward to working with you, and now, enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to WS Podcast. My name is Wojciech Salski, I'll be your host for today, and before we begin, may I just remind you, if you find this podcast entertaining and useful, and you'd like to see more of it, and you think the world should see more of it, then please make sure that you follow, subscribe. There is also a way of making sure that you get a notification every time a new episode is up. And share it with a friend, put it on social media, do whatever is necessary to get the word out there. And I do believe that the best kind of advertisement is one that comes from the appreciative or audience or client. So thank you so much for all of you who are supporting, who are listening, who are supporting me in any other way as well. I'm very grateful for that. So thank you so much and welcome to the show. Today we have, I'm not sure, maybe it is the last episode of this season. I'm blanking out right now on that fact. Anyway, I am very excited to share this one with you. Quite frankly, I've had this book on the list to share for a while. It's been almost 2 years now since I've been meaning to do an episode about it, and then to be honest, it sort of went past in the end because I focused too much on books that are either based on research or based in some sort of facts and figures and stuff like that. So the ending, I assume it probably is the 10th episode, to be honest, of the series of the season for fiction books is certainly a good one from my perspective. The name of the book, the title is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and I've caught myself once or two times during the show already on different episodes that I refer to that book, similarly that I've done so again and again for Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which yet again I promise I will get that book for you reviewed into the future. It's simply, I was so certain that I've already done it that for many months I've been sort of postponing it, and every now and then when I have a revelation and I mention it during the podcast and then I try to reference it by linking below the episode, I realize that there is no episode of that title. So this book in particular popped up for me again and again. I think, quite frankly, without sort of oversharing the plot, I think this is by far one of the best books you can get a young person to read, to get them interested and curious about spirituality, about meaning of life, about life really, about faith as well, without it being too academic or too difficult to read. It's a great story in and of itself, and it's written in a very friendly, approachable style. I think the author himself as well, you should definitely check him out. He has many more books, and the way he writes is very approachable. I've not suffered reading this book, as I often do with more difficult ones. Quite frankly, I whizzed through it. It was a pleasure. I remember I said to a friend who lent me this book at the time that I wish it was twice the length, because I felt like there is so many more stories, or scenes, let's say, that could have been explored, which, obviously the book has to end at some point. But for me, it certainly felt like I wanted more. And for good reason. I think, honestly, it's a strong contender to... It reminds me of Sophie's World, which I'll link below as well for you. That book also, more philosophically focused, but we've already explored it, and both of these books were very interesting for me. Sophie's World is a bit more technical. In The Midnight Library, it's mostly a story that sort of takes us on a journey through time and space and ideas of many lives, or ideas of alternative universes, and also again and again it allows us to come back to our own life and sort of reflect what life means for us and so forth. So yeah, I can't recommend it strong enough. I feel like majority of the books, if not all of the books that I try to choose for you, are the good ones. I don't think I've done many episodes on books that I wasn't completely self-assured that it's a good choice for you. This one certainly is, and it's also pleasurable, and it's very easily digested. So you can definitely recommend it to your friends, to your young ones as well. I think I would argue as young as 12 is a very, it's a good age to tackle these ideas, and it's written in a way that is just approachable, and it's a great story. It reminds me of the movie Inside Out, about the emotions, and when I read it, I remember thinking back and forth about that movie as well as The Soul. So yeah, here are some thoughts and encouragement, I guess, to really take into your heart and read this one. So today I've prepared for you yet again 5 different themes, and some of them will sort of reinforce what we've talked about before. Some of them are a bit more nuanced, maybe intertwining with the other episodes. And as per usual, I've prepared for almost each of those themes, I've prepared some additional quotes for you that really resonate with me. And of course, I will link below all of the episodes and books that I mention as we go, because there is a lot here to unpack, and so I'll see what happens. Yet again, I just realized that my throat is not completely up to par. I was attending my one of my best friend's wedding on the weekend. It was wonderful. It was also exhausting. I came back yesterday, had a full day of work and study, and here I am recording in the evening. So my throat is not yet fully recovered, and neither am I. So please pardon the quality of this recording if it were subpar, as they say. So the first theme, quite frankly, is I guess the major theme to begin with. It's on the power of choice. So the quote for this theme is, "Every life contains many millions of decisions, some big, some small. But every time one decision is taken over another, the outcomes differ." So, to paint the picture, the main character, Nora, the protagonist enters this midnight library, and she gets a chance to glimpse into alternative opportunities, alternative lives, if you will, of her experience. So not necessarily actually living through them, but she gets a chance to look what would happen if, as it's a very, I think, also quite a contemporary concept in both literature, film, and art in general. So straight away, as I was preparing this episode for you, what quote came up for me was from Brené Brown, the wonderful quote that I have in my living room, one of them. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you wish to become. You're constantly choosing. And I think we've actually had a discussion on this front a while back. I think it might have been one of the first seasons ever. You're constantly choosing. You're choosing what to do. And by definition, by choosing what to do, you're choosing what not to do. There is only so much time you have in your day. There is only so much energy. And if you consider these two to be like maybe a battery or a spending limit, you will notice that over time, basically, you're forced to make those choices. Even not making a choice is making a choice. It's just the choice is that you've not taken a stance. But since everything is changing all of the time, and since not making a decision does not make the decision go away, it simply sort of kicks the can down the road, as they say. You're constantly choosing. Right now you're choosing to listen to this podcast, and so you had to forfeit maybe listening to another podcast, or maybe listening to music, or maybe watching a movie, unless you're doing all of these three things at the same time, which I would argue is also a choice of not doing any, because you're not getting the benefit of either. In the same way, as you go throughout your life, some decisions are very small, whether I brush my teeth today or not, whether I eat breakfast now or in an hour, and so. But also there are some big decisions. And those big decisions, you could argue, are our milestones, right? Like which career you'd like to choose, or what kind of person you want to, I don't know, be with. Where do you want to live? This is not obvious. Not everyone in the world has the opportunity, but for those privileged ones, the blessed ones like ourselves, me included for sure, I made the choice at some point in my early life that I wanted to study abroad. And so with that came the choice, where do I want to study abroad? AKA, where do I want to live? And as much as some of those decisions are made without really knowing what are the options, because oftentimes we don't know what we like until we get to experience it, or until we get to experience what we don't like. Nevertheless, these decisions will impact your life, and in a way sort of point you in one direction over another, right? And so here in the story, of course, the protagonist is offered an opportunity to look at how the different choices made her, could have made her life journey different. Now, I want to offer you one more thing here, something that I've been contemplating for a while now. We've talked about compound interest. If you remember, the compounding as a phenomenon by Einstein, supposedly claimed one of the most amazing, wonderful forces in the universe. How compounding works is that, for example, let's say that you are saving money on an account that allows you to to benefit from interest, which would be that because you're putting money into this account and the bank is using that money every month, every year, every whatever interval, the bank will pay you a certain percentage on top of the money that you have there as a benefit for you, as a payment for keeping that money for the bank, right? It's the same way that it works the other way around with your mortgage. It's just that we often don't think about it in the context of our savings as much as we understand it as compounding effect of the mortgage, or we don't, and we get burned by not knowing. But I would like you to consider that compounding works the same with everything else in your life. So for example, if you start working out at the gym tomorrow, for the next week, month, year, 10 years, every time you will work out, as long as you're doing it fairly regularly and with some thought to it, you're not just standing around taking photos at the gym, you will see effects. You will see your stamina improving, you will see your body being stronger, you will, after some time, I don't know how long it's going to be for you, but I would argue it's somewhere around the 3 or 4 month mark, you will see actually your body changing, which is usually what people look for the most in terms of going to the gym to get in shape or get fit. And my observation for you is to recognize that compound interest will work the same with this. So while the first 30 times you're at the gym, you might not be seeing the effects, they certainly contribute to the effects that you're gonna see after 90 times. It's not that you could skip the 30 times and go 31 and suddenly you see the effects. It's just that compounding often happens very slowly to begin with, almost impossibly to notice, while over time it literally goes like a hockey stick, as they call it. And if you were to see a graph of how compounding, you can Google it for yourself or ChatGPT it, however you're looking for information these days, I would encourage you to consider this idea of compounding effect, because understanding this, I think, is a superpower, because it allows you to be more mindful and more intentional about the way you spend your time. Because if you want to do something, the best way to achieve success is to do it consistently, to be persistent with it, and to allow the compound interest of your good relationships, of your good ethics at work, of your, great workouts, of your training, of your love life that you compound over time by contributing to the relationship that you're building, or, the quality of the time you spend with your loved ones. All of that ends up a compound interest. So I've been thinking about it actually, in particular in relation to my friends, because I went back for the wedding on the weekend, and yet again I was faced with this wonderful experience, which I am so blessed with, and yet I know not all people or not many people actually have, which is I have a group of people, some of which I call really close friends, that I've known almost since I can remember. And this is, it takes some effort, of course. It takes calling every year for birthday wishes. It takes reaching out every now and then when I'm in town to make sure that maybe there is an opportunity to meet with them. And of course, it fluctuates, right? It's not like every year and every time at the same time, every day or every week, I'm in contact. But because I've kept consistent effort to maintain this relationship, now it is so much more valuable, I think, because effectively those people know me inside out from so long ago, and there is something to it, a certain level of sentiment, I guess. Of course, I'm not encouraging you to keep friendships forever if they're not working out, but if they do, if they feel like they are enriching your soul, then I've been just thinking that is literally a compound interest effect over time for my life, where it's been now almost 20 years, and with some of them even longer than I've been in touch with them regularly. And because of it, I feel a certain level of appreciation and connection there that it's hard to emulate with other people that I meet, unless I will build up that interest, that compound interest over time. So coming back to our idea of actions and how they impact, I just want to give you these few ideas. This is actually from inspired by the book The Power of Now, which we've discussed, and so I'll link below the episode for you. Consider that the past is no more and the future is uncertain, and there is a constant now, right? We've created time as an experience, as a phenomenon, to make sense of reality. But in reality, you never have tomorrow and you never have yesterday, right? We don't even have a day and night in reality. If you were to move across the globe with the sun, you would be an eternal day. So even an idea of a day and night is something that we've sort of developed to make sense of the cycles that are happening around us. And by understanding that you have only the now, I think we can push ourselves a little bit more to be using that now rather than postponing for tomorrow what you could do today. But at the same time, and we'll go into that in the second theme in a moment, I know for a fact that you might be feeling some regrets about what happened or about what did not happen. I know, because I think it's a human experience, and I certainly do regret. I have some regrets myself. They don't necessarily have to be tragic regrets, but they certainly feel at the moment when I'm thinking about them as something that I wish I could have done better, or I wish I would have done differently. And now, this is what I discussed with my friend Louis today during lunchtime, is that actually a radical idea here to consider is that your actions, by definition of being chosen at the time, were the best to your abilities in that context at that point in time for you. Because in the same way as you're choosing right now what to do, and by choosing what to do, you're choosing what is the highest in your hierarchy of value, I guess, for the time being, in the same way, what you've chosen those 10 years ago was the best choice you could have made for that particular moment in that particular time. And this is not to absolve you of your mistakes, because I think absolution is not needed as long as you've learned and you sort of incorporated these challenges. And it's not my place to be telling you how you should feel or not feel about stuff. It's between you and God, or whatever you consider. But it certainly, for me, it certainly feels like a freeing idea to ponder that I did the best I could considering all the circumstances at that point in time. And we can extend that idea to all the other people and the whole world at all times. So all the mistakes that we're making them while we're probably at the time in the space thinking that this is the best way to act. But as we've explored, it's a power of choice, right? You're constantly choosing, and those choices will determine what other choices you can make. So let's go to the regret part, right? In the story, this is the quote. regrets don't leave. They weren't mosquitoes to be swatted. They were bigger, more integral. They were the structure of a life. So, obviously, as the protagonist goes through that library, she encounters things that were both, positive and negative in her perspective, in her perception. And the one thing here that stood out for me as an idea is that what I said just a moment earlier, you have to get to know that which you don't want to learn to know what you want. If you think of all the bad experiences you've had with your exes, or of all the bad experiences you've had with your teachers, or of all the bad experiences you've had with food or parties or whatever, work, you know much more on what you want by knowing what you don't want. It's like if you go into the store for the first time and you've never been into that shop and you don't know any of the products there, it will be very difficult for you to know which product is for you and what you would like. But with experience, with time, with opportunities to try those products, or maybe by experience of others, by reading about them or asking, you can learn and sort of narrow down this vision of what you want. And I think this is essentially, the narrowing down is essentially what we do through especially the early stage of our life, which is, this crazy time between somewhere between 16 and probably 35, where we are not only encouraged to try different things, but because of our character and because of the contextual space in which we're placed, both at uni or off uni, at work, in different jobs, often jobs that are really ungrateful and quite frankly horrible, and with all the relationships that we don't know what to do about, and we're sort of, really just trying it out and trying to figure out what to do. We learn what we don't want, and so over time we're using these regrets, these not wants, for the benefit of wants and of creating your life the way you want to live it. And I think the book beautifully reframes regret in that manner. It essentially, from my perspective, it essentially encourages us to try and make mistakes, do different things, hopefully not make mistakes grave enough that you cannot recoup afterwards, but as long as you will burn yourself once or twice, but essentially you will come out victorious and wiser, you will get that experience which is invaluable in life, you will become better. And, I have no way to prove it, but my feeling, my intuition is that I wouldn't be as good as I am right now as a brother, as a partner, as a friend, if it wasn't for all of the mistakes that I've done in those, roles in the past. I also know what I don't want from my employer, right? So because I've had a chance to experience different jobs at different employers, I know what kind of employments or what kind of people I want to stay away from. And so, in a way, even if there are some regrets there in relation to some mistakes, maybe it's a better way of putting it, as Jordan Peterson points out in 12 Rules for Life, and sort of invites us to narrow down our scope by becoming more self-aware, or just recognizing what doesn't work for us. It's the same way as we've done at the very beginning of this year an episode called Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Smoking, which is about a book that helped me and many of my friends quit this horrible habit of smoking. And to be honest with you, I don't think I would have quit smoking as easily as I did if it wasn't for the fact of how much regret I felt for all the crazy smoking I've done during my Kuwait adventure. I really took it to another level, and I would never expect myself to be smoking as much, as intensely, and also feeling as much shame as I did so, and guilt as I did when I was in Kuwait. It was truly horrible, and I think it was necessary for me, that therapy in a way, it was necessary for me to accept my defeat, and with a humble approach of I need to get myself fixed, actually stop doing that, stop submitting to that habit which was costing me life. I think, if you were to smoke as much as I did every day for the rest of your life would be shortened for sure, and I don't wish that upon anyone. So in a way, yet again, a regret of a sort gave me fuel to free myself of the shackles of that horrible habit. Now, I guess as we build on this idea of power of choice and choosing among the options, among the endless options really, but choosing and maybe making some mistakes along the path, and potentially having some regrets but treating them as lessons, we find ourselves searching for meaning, right? And this is the next theme, and the quote is, "The only way to learn is to live." You are probably, if you're my average listener, then you are probably around my stage of life. You're likely to be either at uni or just off uni. You're likely to be having your first serious relationships, or as myself, the serious relationships based off of what beforehand was probably somewhere around the non-serious or rather, how do you call it, ungraceful. And you're likely to be asking yourself, especially in our day and age when everything seems to be so meaningless, what is the meaning of life, right? It's this $1 million question or $10 million question. What is the meaning of life? And I actually discussed it with a friend on my podcast recently, which the episode I think will air somewhere around August. It was really wonderful as a discussion, and what came up for me here is this idea that there are endless opportunities. You truly do have, as much as you think your choices are limited, you truly do have almost an endless stream of opportunities happening to you at all times in life. Effectively, over the course of your life, you will be faced with so many different opportunities, challenges, and people and circumstances that if you were to count them all, it would probably feel like they are endless. Even if you think that your life is very restricted, maybe because of your geography or because of your background or whatever. And I think it's only fair that we look, that we search for the meaning, especially in this supposedly meaningless world. This is yet again the Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl that comes into my mind, and so I will link it retrospectively once I actually record the episode. But what came up for me when I was discussing it with a friend is that I think the meaning of life, the purpose of life, or the goal of life is to figure out its meaning for ourselves. The beautiful quote by Picasso, which certainly inspired me in my thoughts, is that the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. I would like to think that's true. This is not to say that I found mine. I think maybe we are, my dear listener, unless you're much older than me, and so you might have already found it, but I think only with experience, and this is why the quote says the only way to learn is to live, I think only with experience and with narrowing of those paths, and with the power of choice being exercised and regrets helping us understand it better, we can over time, hopefully by the end of our lifetime, recognize what is the meaning of your life, of one's life. For me, it feels like I can sort of turn the question around. So instead of thinking what is the meaning of life, period, for me, what is the meaning of my life, I think it's beneficial and potentially, hopeful in a way, that I ask myself, what do I find meaningful? What, for example, a good question to ask yourself, especially if you are still searching, is what am I willing to do for free? And it will bring me enough meaning, enough purpose, enough drive, enough inspiration that I will continue to do it for free no matter what. Because the moment you recognize that something is worth doing, even if you will not get paid for it, even if we don't get any benefit from it other than the benefit of doing it for yourself, I think that's a very good rule of thumb of recognizing what you find meaningful in life, and therefore what you can make your life meaning of. In a way, that's searching for your gift, I guess, as Picasso put it. Because what else is there? That's another question from me to ask you. I understand some people live like that. I can't imagine living like so though, but I know that some people live day by day simply going to work, doing what they're told, and then coming back home, watching TV, doom scrolling, going to sleep, and repeat. And when they are asked, what do you get up out of bed in the morning for, or what do you find meaningful in your life, they either struggle to answer it, or they say something like, well, the alarm clock rings, so I'm getting up because obviously I need to go to work. And they're probably quite offended by you asking them about it to begin with. I would urge you to consider to not be like that, and to consider what you find meaningful and do more of that. In a way, to do something because you just want to do it, because you appreciate the act of doing it. And it will be fulfilling. And I have no doubt that it will also, over time, because of that fulfillment, actually bear some fruits that you've not experienced and you've not expected to be there in the first place. I think, I guess that's the lesson that many successful people tell you. There is this quote that do what you love and the money will follow. And I would urge you not to hang on to that as a promise, because if you do, then you're actually tricking yourself. You should first and foremost want to do it, and then you can use that quote as an inspiration to reconnect with your wish to pursue it in the times of difficulty, especially financial difficulty. But I wouldn't put that on the pedestal, because essentially what you're saying is you're going to try and trick yourself to be liking something that you don't like for the promise of the future monetary benefit. And I'm afraid that that's probably not going to work. Now, the fourth theme I wanted to discuss with you is actually related to the previous one, which is yet again on attitude, right? Attitude over circumstance. The quote is, "It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see." The quote from, I think, Tony Robbins is something that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. If you see every challenge as an opportunity to learn and grow, if you see every circumstance and obstacle as an opportunity to, become different, to change, to experience something other than what you've experienced before, your attitude basically shape your reality. And I truly believe this to be the essence of living a happy life. This is resonating so deeply with our seminal work by David Hawkins, Letting Go, which I think is the most linked, the most often referenced book that I'm coming back to whenever I'm discussing these ideas, simply because it made such a great impact on me. It was by far the most impactful book on my life so far. I truly believe in the words from the Bible: seek and you shall find, ask and you shall be given, knock and it will be opened upon you. But they are all underlined with this idea of having faith, right? Having courage to ask and to look, having the curiosity, having the humility, and having faith that you will find something that you're looking for. And so, in the same way that we've discussed before, that what you look at, what you notice in the world is what you're looking for, if you rewire yourself to be, and we've discussed it, for example, in a relationship to being grateful. If you remember from one of the episodes, a good practice to do in the evening and in the morning, quite frankly, at any time really, is, but I usually do it morning and evening, is list 5 things you're grateful for at the beginning of your day and at the end of your day. And these can be as simple as I'm grateful to be alive, or I'm grateful to be healthy, or I'm grateful to have woken up today. And as big and complicated and convoluted, like I am grateful to be working for this amazing company that allows me to have more time to myself and study my passions. Or, I am grateful that the satellite is not falling on my head every time it flies by. The point of this exercise is not really to find yourself reasons. In other words, it's not the purpose of listing the best things, or, it's not a competition of any sort. It's more of a practice to rewire your brain to focus more on things to be grateful for. So instead of every evening and every morning thinking and recounting all of the troubles that you have, and so, preparing your subconscious mind to be observing what troubles you have in your day to then help you list it, you twist it around, you give it a different task, you're giving it a task, please find me reasons to be grateful for, and it will, because there are so many of them. And it might feel weird to begin with, and it certainly is not always easy. I find my days, especially when they're very difficult, I find it rather difficult to be, to get myself together to list it with a friendly, happy face. But I still do it because I'm training this muscle. I'm getting this compound effect of rewiring my brain, rewiring my attitude. The quote that we've shared, I think a week before, which is resonant with this, is there are 2 types of people: those that create their lives and those that live lives created for them by others. If you allow your circumstance to determine how you feel and how you live, you will live not your own life. But if you become the creator by reframing, by visualizing, by naming the things you're grateful for, you will not only feel better in the moment as you do so, but over time you will see miracles happen, because you're literally rewiring your brain and your energy to be sending a different signal to the world. And the world will respond. We are all subliminally sending ourselves energy all of the time. And when you have a bad day and you come into the office and people just seem a bit more annoying and difficult to interact with you, it's not that it's all of them are having a bad day and they're giving it to you. It's your attitude to that day determines many of these interactions, and they just mirror to you the emotions that you already have in yourself. This is why it's so useful for us to have social relationships, because we can mirror one another, and so we can also act as a sort of alarm bells of a way, or the sides to the street, to ensure that you're not falling out off the curb and whatnot. Now, from Deepak Chopra, from Seven Spiritual Laws of Success and other works by him, we know this amazing quote, "Where attention goes, energy flows." And this is basically the essence of this. It's like, what you choose to focus on expands in your life. If you choose to focus on your problems, you will get more problems. If you choose to focus on solutions, you will get more solutions. And don't take my word for it, just try it, just do it. If you focus your attention on fixing your finance, over time, you will do what's needed, you will make choices, and over time, by making mistakes and so forth, you will fix your finance. And it applies to everything in life. If you want to improve your relationships, focus on improving your relationships. I can't stress it enough. I think this is really, really important. Now, finally, and sorry that I've been going on for so long with these, but I think they're meaningful. I find this meaningful. Why am I saying sorry? I'm not sorry. I hope that this is okay for us to keep going for a bit longer. Now, the final theme is about human connection, because as the book beautifully portrays at times, life is about social connection. It's about us. It's about the relationships that we have. And, there are so many studies and anecdotes about people, old people reflecting on their lives, and old people listing what they value. And the vast majority of them have regrets related to what they've not tried. Not what they did try, but what they've not tried. And the vast majority of them list their relationships as the most important aspects of their lives. No one, or at least not many people, seem to be listing their Ferraris or, their seaside villas as the epiphany and the epitome of their lifetime and the meaning of life. And not many people also consider their career to be that important. It's usually relationships, the families that they've had, the friendships that they've cultivated. It's basically the people, the social connections that they've had. And I think this book beautifully portrays that. The quote here is, "We don't have to play every game to know what winning feels like." The protagonist is faced with many experiences in her life, and she's reflecting on some of them which were her successes, and some of them which were her supposed failures or regrets. And at the root of it all, she notices that whenever she would focus too much, she would over-index, as they say, too much on her personal success or her career or her, materialistic-driven choices, and under-indexed, or instead of choosing fostering relationships or allowing that other person to go in front of her to win that game, so to speak. Over time, she would regret it. And I think, of course, I'm still learning. I'm still hopefully considered to be a fairly young person. I certainly look much younger than I am, but so don't let it trick you. but I am still learning. I have many, many journeys and many relationships and many circumstances still to live through to understand this deeply. But certainly over the past few years, and certainly over the years when I had to stay alone in some places where I lived alone, or when I lived far away from my usual friendships and my family, I found that loneliness is the biggest buzzkill there is. And I think, it makes sense, because it's for a reason that we punish the worst of our society by isolating them. Think about it. Even the most psychopathic, the most difficult people on this earth are being punished by being put in isolation. So even those that are considered by us in our, usual normal way of being to be psychopathic, sociopathic, and so forth, even to those, the greatest punishment is to isolate them from others. So even they need social connection and relationships to live, essentially, to feel like they are living. And I think that's really telling. I think that's a big indicator on just how important this is for us, how important relationships are for us. The two quotes here that I wanted to share with you is, love is the painful realization that something other than yourself is real. I think the moment you truly love is the moment you realize just how fragile you are, because you see that fragility in the other, and you recognize that there are more important things in life than you are, which essentially, as a little child, you're the center of the universe, and then over time, as you become more sociable, you probably realize, if you're humble and curious enough, that you're far from it. You're, of course, the center of the universe to yourself, by definition, but you certainly are not the most important in the universe, period. I don't think anyone really is. And of course, the beautiful quote here, the second one that I found recently somewhere, is, laughter is the shortest distance between two people. That's beautiful, I think. You should share that with a friend. Laughter is the shortest distance between two people. Nothing brings us as much as laughing together. Because the way I understand it is, our lives are so absurdly different. And by the time, this is the observation that Jordan Peterson pointed out in one of his lectures, that by the time you are like 21 or even earlier, there are so many variances, so many differentiating factors that have contributed and layered themselves on top of themselves and basically compounded the difference between your experience of life and mine, that it's essentially impossible for us to truly compare, which is also why comparison to others is so futile and so wasteful. It just wastes your energy, it makes you feel jealous or upset. And it certainly, unless it drives you to be better, it certainly is nothing beneficial. And even if the drive to be better comes from the jealousy, then you should probably find another drive, because it's not as high frequency energy as love and courage and appreciation would be, right? But this idea that by the time you hit like 21, 30, 45, 60, there are so many differences in your life and the life of others that it's almost impossible to understand one another. Think about it. It's basically impossible for me to convey all of my life to you, because in my limited ability to articulate myself, and in your limited ability to understand my articulation, on top of the fact that you see the life differently than I do, you see the world differently than I do. Sometimes we don't even agree on colors. Like, how can we agree on the experience, on the emotions, on the way you experience life? It's so impossibly, amazingly, wonderfully complex that it blows my mind. And it's this quote that laughter is the shortest distance between two people. I think it's because laughter, for everyone, is the same. It's laughter. It's a universal language. I don't know what else is there. I don't know what, maybe, over time, and feel free to comment below or send me an email about it, but I struggled to find a more appropriate connector between two people in terms of our perception and experience than that of laughing at something, and simply the activity of laughter as a way of experiencing it. Now, I actually asked my fiancée to send me an idea, because I couldn't find in my notes how it works. Let's see. Yeah, so just consider this for a moment, and this sort of relates to the previous part. I just received her message right now. Attitude over circumstance, and in a way, what I'm trying to convey here right now is how apparently, according to some sources, that's how we create reality, essentially, and that's how universally reality is created. First, there is awareness. From awareness comes the energy. From the energy comes a thought. From the thought comes a mind. And from a mind comes the body. And vice versa. First there is a body. Then from the body comes the mind. From the mind comes the thought. From the thought comes the energy. And from the energy comes awareness. So it's a chicken and egg, I guess, conundrum, the never-ending cycle. And I guess from my perspective, as I understand it, the Big Bang, or God, whatever you consider to be the first mover in this universe of ours, could be that awareness from which came the energy, and then the thought, and then the mind, and then the body. But of course, this is just an idea. So I wanted to share with you that. So yeah, thank you, Julia, for sending it over. Now, finally, I guess my conclusion to our whole episode really is all you need is love, right? The episode of the same title, I'll link below. It's basically a deeper contemplation of this idea that all you need in life is love, and that applies for both self-love and love of the other and love of life. And yeah, I just wanted to encourage you to consider for a moment just how absurdly different every life is. And I'll also link below the episode about Ikigai, which I think is very relevant. It's an idea. It's a Japanese idea of finding life's meaning by connecting 4 different questions into one activity that overlays these 4 spheres. So I've had an episode on that, so I'll link it as well. And I think at this point I'll leave it there. I will not share it with you right now. Feel free to check out the episode. It's certainly useful if you want to explore how to start searching a bit more efficiently for what you find meaning in life for. And now my invitation for this week for you, regardless if you choose to try Ikigai episode or not, is consider what is meaningful in your life, and don't wait till tomorrow. Don't think about yesterday. Consider what you find meaningful. Consider what you could do for free for the rest of your life, and not getting any monetary benefit from it or otherwise, unless it's the benefit of just doing it. And decide today, make that decision, they make that choice to embrace it, to do something about it today. So an example could be, if you think that reading books is meaningful, if you find it meaningful and you'd like to do more of it, don't wait till tomorrow. Pick up a book and read 5 pages today, 10 pages today, whatever that means for you. If you think that, or if you feel that your relationships are meaningful for you, then make sure to call someone you love or appreciate today. Don't wait till tomorrow, because as we've explored, tomorrow is uncertain, the future is no more. There is only the present. And there are always reasons to postpone things. There are always reasons our logical mind comes up with ways of making us not to do things right now. I hear them on the daily basis about many things, sometimes it really, I think by now I'm an expert in how many different excuses people can come up with, and sometimes I even make bets to myself who comes up with what whenever I'm talking about some stuff with people. Don't postpone till tomorrow what you can do today. I think Matt Haig would be happy to encourage you through the reading of the Midnight Library to really take charge of your life and to enjoy the passage of time, but make a choice and do what's meaningful and act now. Don't leave it till tomorrow. Other than that, thank you so much for listening. Yet again, if you haven't yet, please make sure to follow. Please make sure to subscribe, to click in the link below if you'd like to sign up, if you'd like to support the podcast, or if you'd like to just explore the options there. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful week full of miracles and great attitude and meaning, most importantly, and love. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.